Yeah, it's 5:39. They were just getting started, Donovan.
Yeah, let's go get into it. Um, so, first off, I just want to talk a little bit um, about where we're at with things. So, 106 in Quarantine has been the name of this show. Again, it's been a way to have conversations around Northwest hip hop through using music videos to provoke discussion. Um, but we are going to be actually doing a name change of 106 in Quarantine. So first off, the name will be Press Play Northwest moving forward. So Press Play NW is what you want to be looking out for. And so we're going to be taking the next month off from the events to just kind of like fine tune the recipe for this. But if you're here for kind of our preamble, like I was saying, we do have a weekly radio show on the Numbers FM. That's 96.7. That happens every week where you can hear Northwest hip hop songs, but also clips from our interviews with folks from previous episodes. So stay in tune for that. You can sign up for the email list if you drop your email in the chat here. So please do that so you can stay up to date with all our latest. With that, just want to I wrote up a little background about Vanport and just in honor of the fact that we're here as part of the Vanport Mosaic Festival. So I'm just going to read that and pass it off to you after that, Bruce. So Vanport is strongly woven into the fabric of Oregon's today. As a wartime city that grew to be the second biggest in the state in less than a decade, undoubtedly the most racially diverse in the state's history, its impacts bleed into almost every corner of the state. None more notably than North and Northeast Portland. The flood didn't stop at Memorial Day 1948. It continued through policies, especially in North and Northeast Portland, like redlining, Measure 11s locking up young people in droves, busing programs that tore kids from the neighborhood schools into often hostile environments. It's the hiring and firing practices that leaves you grasping for air. It's the targeting by law enforcement of organizations like the Panthers that dare demand justice. I really learned about Vanport as a junior at Oregon Episcopal School, and not because it was assigned curriculum, but because I had the opportunity to study whatever I wanted for one semester. I chose gentrification in part to better understand the isolation that comes with being Black in Oregon in a private school environment, no less. I, like so many others, even as a fourth generation Oregonian, had missed a foundational piece to my home's history. To know Vanport is not the recitation of a fun fact. It's to know an absorbent resiliency of its Black residents that continues to flood into the streets of Portland every day.
And with that, thank you, first off. Second, just to get into the theme of this year's Vanport Mosaic Festival, which is who gets to be American. And I think what we're trying to do really touches on that, is because despite hip hop music and culture being at the epicenter of so much of our society, it still feels like a lot of academia turns its nose up at the idea of really meaningfully engaging with it. I graduated from UO in 2011, and I have plenty of professors who would engage with pop culture for the lessons, whether it's talking about history, culture, or politics from the 80s through today. But and they would use that as primary source documents, which we'll get into later. But you rarely saw hip hop in any of that, and definitely nothing from the Northwest. So my takeaway from those experiences is that, a lot of important voices are missing from the conversation. And as students and, other consumers of this information, we're missing out, whether it's on the stories, whether it's on the exposure to the art, or even just, our understanding of the world around us. And while, that we've seen some changes to that recently, be it, college courses, in some cases, like the ones you hear about when they're taught by like KRS-One or Knife Wonder or Bun B, or even, institutions like the Trap Music Museum in Atlanta. And on a local level, I think we've been blessed, and especially in like the Portland area, to have a number of specifically high school teachers who reached out to local artists to come and like engage with their classes in that way. But there still could be more. And, with events like tonight, ultimately we hope to help add to that infrastructure for telling the story of Portland hip hop. And, I guess once again, we're honored to have Cool Nutz and Mussolini with us to kind of, do that, like we said before, this experiment, if you will. So with that, let's just get into the format real quick. Normally we do breakout groups, but for the sake of live, that's a little off. So what we're going to do is screen 2 videos. It was originally going to be 3. One of them was going to be Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back, but because of, copyright, we don't want this video getting shut down. So, and most people, I think, are familiar with it. So,
and just for context, that the reason for that video Sir Mix-a-Lot is from Seattle, and so we're all about uplifting Northwest hip hop. And Baby Got Back is the biggest hip hop song to ever come from the Northwest. So we wanted to kind of have a discussion around that. So we encourage you to, go look at that video with fresh eyes on your own time. And even though it's kind of a funny song, there are some pieces in terms of like how, he talks about Black women and representation that should be kept at the front of your mind when you look at it with those fresh eyes.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to, first video we're going to screen is What I'm About by our special guest, Cool Nutz, featuring Bosco and Versatile, also, legends, international, artists in the game. So I'm going to share this screen real quick. And welcome back, everyone. So, yeah, with that, we want to get, into the discussion today. So, yeah, Cool Nutz, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, first off, like I said, we weren't able to, screen Sir Mix-a-Lot, but, I know I had the pleasure of interviewing you back in the day at the Scanner, back when you released Bars, and one of the songs you had on that was Young Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah.
So could you just talk a little bit about like his influence on the scene, and and just for, people, like I said, we didn't get to screen the video, but I know there's got to be some people who have like, the question on their mind is like, what does a literal mountain of booty have to do with the history of, Northeast Portland, the hip hop scene? So.
Oh, you mean with Mix-a-Lot?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is for me is we had me and Bosco had an interesting interaction with him because we were, he was so synonymous with the Northwest, and we would always go up to Seattle to visit one of my buddies who was going to University of Washington. So one time we were going up there, we were on the freeway, and we saw a car that looked like the car from the video from the white Corvette. And I'm like, man, that's Mix-a-Lot. And he's like, no, that's not. I'm like, I swear that's Mix-a-Lot. That's the same car from the video. So he got off on it's the Federal Way exit, and we got off behind him, and Bosco's like, yo, he honks the horn, and the window comes down, and it's Mix-a-Lot, and he's like, we got a tape. So he's like, follow me to the Red Lobster. So we go to the Red Lobster, give him our tape, and then from there we ended up meeting with his manager and building with him, and at one point we were about to sign with him, but I don't know what happened with their label, but like everything in the song, like the Young Mix-a-Lot song is real. Like when I say we went to his house, like we heard Baby Got Back probably 6-8 months before it came out because he had us come to the studio at his house and played us the album. So that's where the connection with Mix-a-Lot and the Young Mix-a-Lot song, because like literally we watched all that from Buttermilk Biscuits to Posse on Broadway to, being there when E40 redid song. I think he redid Posse on or Big Ballin' with my homies, and then we tried to link it in to get Mix-a-Lot to get on the song as well. So we got a deep connection with him.
And that's interesting. You said 8 to 9 months before Baby got out, and he was already like a fixture like that where you wanted to connect with him.
Oh, he was. You got to think, before he went mainstream, he had put out the independent records, and was already like Posse on Broadway and Buttermilk Biscuits and all that was already booming. He was already booming. Baby Got Back was just that was his proverbial breakout record, which took it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you feel like it was a hit when you heard that song?
Oh yeah, I knew. I was like, it's out of here. There's a few songs, man, that like when you do music and you do it in a capacity from a professional standpoint, like it's a few records I've heard before they came out, and I was like, that's a hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So around that time, like when you would be in, other states, how would people talk about like the Portland hip hop scene?
I mean, at that point, they didn't. There was nothing coming from Portland. Another interesting Seattle story was we used to go up, like when I first started putting out records, we went up to Seattle. We went up to Seattle to put our first records in the store. We went to the hood store, and I'm like, yo, we from Portland, and his response was like, we don't F with Portland up here. And I was like, yo, just take the tape. I was like, take the tape and put it in here, and I guarantee you. And so I gave him like 5 tapes. He put them in there, and he called me like a week later. He's like, my bad, bro. I apologize. You sold out all the tapes, man. I start playing it. People bought them all up, so you got to bring me some more. So from there, like honestly, like people always talk about Portland. You got artists that play a role in putting Portland on the map as a progression, but a lot of stuff we did, we put Portland on the map. Lifesavers put Portland on the map. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's people that have put Portland on the map before. It's just like it comes in waves. If you're not aware of what happened in 95 to 2005 or whatever, you think like whatever happened after that is what's happening or what was the benchmark. You know what I mean? That's why it's important, even with you guys doing stuff like this, to show what like the history of what helped carve or lay down the bricks for there to be a scene here,
And to that same end, I wonder, with Portland, we actually had like a really strong jazz scene in the, the 60s and 50s and everything. People were really breaking out here, especially in that Jumptown era. And so, just thinking about when people say, is the city on or is it not? I wonder, like, as you were kind of laying a lot of the bricks for the early Portland hip hop scene, did you feel like you had any kind of foundation musically through the jazz scene that had been here in Portland, or did you feel like you're working mostly there at that time?
Nah, I mean, who was our inspiration was U Crew, who don't get the props they deserve for what they did. Like, U Crew on a national level was touring, was doing shows with, all across the country, had, hit records that were out there. So, and they came from our neighborhood, it was just that their stuff was more hip hop R&B. And then it transitioned into what was like, more West Coast gangster rap and stuff like that. But U Crew essentially was who had paved the way for us to be able to like have a voice for Portland, or even show us that certain things were possible. You know what I mean? So and then you also had like Shock and Pleasure and funk bands like that had did stuff, but it wasn't you know, music was just changing at that point that we started doing stuff. You had, you know, Eazy-E and NWA, you had the Bay Area popping. So it was like a lot of our stuff was more relative to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that end, can you just talk a little bit more about, like, I guess the other, like the sound in the 90s and sort of like the influences on the scene, if that makes sense.
I mean, for Portland, Portland has always been a melting pot for hip hop, and that's why you have so many different sounds, because we're kind of tucked off here in the Northwest, where you can kind of hone and perfect your skills, and that's why you have the Lifesavers, you have Cool Nutz, you got Mezzalini, you got the Vinny Dwaynes and Mike Capes. You have so many different sounds that come from here that have helped, you know, that have Mikey Vegas and different stuff like that help show such a variety, because I think a lot of us have been influenced by not only just the Bay or LA, but also the West Coast, the East Coast, and real, you know, just real hip hop, Midwest, down South. So I think you have like this melting pot that comes together in terms of creating what is a Portland sound. That's why it's so diverse. And I think sometimes that's why when you say, oh, what is a Portland sound? It's, to me, it's like it's a melting pot of, like, even if you listen to my music, like my music is real synonymous with West Coast, but, you know, I go into the sample driven stuff, soulful stuff, because we listen to so much hip hop out here and take in so much hip hop that I think you have an abundant sound of influences that also give us the ability to where you have cats that I feel like you can take them anywhere and they can compete with anything out there. Like I feel like I could take 10 artists from Portland, take them all across the country, and they can compete with anybody.
To the end around the history and just what was happening in Portland, you know, with the video that we showed, What I'm About, Bo Bruce and I saw on Facebook about a month ago, you had said that this video was really about, you know, showcasing Northeast Portland and North Portland, the real North and Northeast, as you said. And,
yeah.
You know, Portland isn't synonymous with hip hop in the same way some of these other cities and things are, but there were some of the same conditions that other cities have that were happening here and still are. So can you talk about what is the real Northeast to you? What were you trying to showcase?
I feel like the real Northeast is back when we had a black community in Northeast. That was the real black community. I mean, that was the real Northeast, North and Northeast. Like, there's certain things that people don't understand that occurred, you know, in terms of real neighborhoods. Like when you could go out the house and all your neighbors were black families, or you could, you know, go up MLK and you see people riding their cars on 15th in Alberta. You know, you turn the corner and all the kids is out there catching a bus. Or when you got your first car, you hit 15th with your windows down with the music up, and there was a certain feel. Like even if you look at that What I'm About video, you know, we shot that it was a 3-day shoot, but a lot of it was like in Burbati's at the club with the real community out when we shot in Burbati's in the pool room. It was like all of our people from the neighborhood when we shot on 15th in Alberta. Like those were kids in the community that were just out there. Like we shooting a video, you know what I mean? Like now you shoot a video on 15th in Alberta, it's gonna be people walking their dogs and all, you know what I mean? Like all type of different stuff. So it's just a changing of the times. Like you had real culture, you know, we had real culture and a real feeling of what neighborhood and community was, you know, like the basketball games at Irving Park, just moving around North and Northeast Portland where it was a sense of belonging.
And can you just talk a little bit more about Burbati's specifically and like what that venue meant to the scene?
I mean, Burbati's was a venue that I mean, you have multiple venues that help pave the way for hip hop in this city that gave us the ability to not only show ourselves, but show the city that we could promote concerts, that we could put on events. And Barbati's was a mid-sized venue where, you know, I know at the peak it held like 600 people, but it was very welcoming to the hip hop community. Doing things like Po Hop in there, multiple like crazy shows like Jizza and I think the Clips, Evidence. I know Dilated People did a show there and they had Kanye come out, you know, and different like I said, different things like doing my birthday weekend, like 3 days of parties in there is packed and crazy, and they're allowing us to do that. It wasn't the same thing where a lot of venues are trying to hold it back or scared. They gave us the ability to actually come in and promote our own concerts, to generate revenue, to do album release parties and, you know, community events. And it became a place that was synonymous with Portland hip hop.
I know, at the end of that Mussolini video that we showed, there was that poster for Messy Marv, and I was actually doing some reading last night. And so the plan, I believe it was for that show, was to have, Marv shake up somebody from a different neighborhood as a way to show unity. And then Portland police ended up shutting that down because they said they were concerned around gang activity. Can you talk a little bit about, because you said, just to showcase that we could do our own events. Can you talk about some of the challenges that have come with concert promotion as local hip hop rather?
I mean, there always were the challenges of, of course, if we doing music that's fueled by the streets, you have the element of the streets. And of course there have been challenges, like you can't, if there's fights or shootings outside of a show, you can't contest that sometimes, saying like, there's no reason at times to be alarmed. But the thing for us was always trying to create a safe environment, like from the time we started doing shows, we would reach out to the gang task force, to the mayor's office, to the police chief's office, and send them a fax like, hey, we're doing these shows. We'd love for you guys to come out and be present, because if you're present and you're supporting it, it creates a safe environment where people come out, they feel safe. But if you're embracing it, it doesn't create all of the tension of like somebody does a show, then somebody calls and tells the police, they're doing this hip hop show. It's probably going to be gang members and guns. And like, nah, if you're involved from the beginning, we can create the landscape where it's a safe and cool environment, which is what we were able to do, through history. There's just always certain things that occur that create roadblocks or obstacles that, we got to fix or try to adapt to or try to recreate something that we already created. So for me, it's just always been the challenge of always knowing, like, this is what we're doing. These are the elements that come along with it. And we just try to create we have as much consideration for our fans' safety as possible, to make sure that when you come out to a show, you feel safe, because people should feel safe no matter what type of music it is.
In one of those demonstrations, you had mentioned it earlier, but it is Po Hop. And you've been doing that for off and on for decades. So can you just kind of let people know what Po Hop's all about and how important it's been?
Po Hop basically stands for the Portland, Oregon Hip Hop Festival, which my buddy David Parks, he saw what I was doing with putting out albums. He had moved here from Indiana, and he was more into the rock scene, but he was, he's a black dude from Indiana that was doing rock music here. He saw what I was doing and the influence I had. So he reached out to me and was like, hey man, I got an idea for you and I want to use your platform. You have a voice in the city, you from the city, and your reach is powerful. So he was like, I want to do this thing I want to do a hip hop festival. You guys have already been putting on some shows or whatever, but let's take it up a notch. So we decided, and it was really to show the city that Portland had quality hip hop talent and that we could put it on a big stage, which was La Luna, which was a venue that held 1,000 people. So the first year we did it, we did one night and we did like 600 people, and that's all local hip hop. The second year we did it, we did 800 people the first night and then sold it out the second night. And so that was damn near 2,000 people between two nights, all for local hip hop. So, and that's one of the things that when I talk about Portland, people say Portland, oh, somebody putting Portland on the map, or Portland ain't been on the map. Like, we've been packing venues. Like, we've been putting 1,000 people in venues. We've been, bringing out packed shows for local hip hop through many years. And Po Hop was a key part of that, because that showed me what we were capable of not only promote myself, but promoting the scene. And that's where the whole thing, when people be like, oh, Cool Nutz, Portland hip hop ambassador and all that, like, David came to me and kind of tapped me on the shoulder and put me on that path. And I saw the results of what we could do, not just taking, but giving. You know what I'm saying? So Po Hop was a vehicle to take the city and the artists within the city and put them on the big stage, put them up there in front of 1,000 people. And not only just for the Po Hop, but it fueled shows throughout the years, So Po Hop might happen in June, but all through the year, we were doing shows like every month, every other month that were popping. And it, all fueled by local hip hop. So Po Hop was the means to create a platform that also showed a lot of artists what could be done. Like, you could put on your own shows. Well, not only can you put on your own shows, you can make money. You can sell your own CDs. You can talk to this venue owner and work with them to put on a dope event. So that's what Po Hop essentially was a vehicle to create an avenue and a platform for us to make Portland hip hop visible in a city that was predominantly, fueled by rock music.
Right.
So just to, we're talking about, the conversation about putting, Portland on the map. I just want to go back to the video and like the other artists on there, Bosco, Verse, like, you just, talk about what they've meant, to Portland for those who may not be as familiar.
I mean, Bosco is essentially, me and Bosco are essentially Just Family Records, which is the label that we put out all the music through, whether it be my stuff, his stuff, Maniac Low, G-ism, Western Conference All-Stars, and products that we put out. He started basically as a producer, which turned into an artist, and then he ended up, moving to LA to go to college. He went to USC. And once he got to LA, he kind of got tapped into the entertainment scene out there, which was, he did the first big thing he did was a theme song for the TV show In Living Color. So he did that. Then he got tapped in with people like Volume 10, AMG, Spice One, E40, Bone Thugs and Harmony, the Outlaws, Kanye West, and other people. And so then he just grew his catalog, which also turned in us getting record deals and him just getting bigger opportunities, getting on the J. Cole, he was on the J. Cole workout, and a bunch of other things. So that's what Bosco did. And then Versatile, of course, with the Lifesavers, they were what would be, called more hip hop or backpack hip hop or whatever, but they paved the way in that lane. And, through working with Black Alicia's and Quantum Projects and toured the world. But that was the thing, is like, when I talk about Northeast, like, all of these are people that came from Northeast, like people I grew up with, people I played basketball with, and through us just naturally having relationships and building and doing music, created like songs like What I'm About. Like, even with Versatile, like when I went to LA to mix that album, and And I, you know, Verse jumped on a plane and flew in last minute to knock out the hook for that song. And we put it together. Like, it's so much history in some of this music that people don't realize. And then what spawned people that had like real music careers. Like, you know, Bosco's had a real music career. Bosco's done great things. Versatile and Lifesavers have done great things for Portland. And they're just, you know, they're two people from the city that, well, not two people because Lifesavers is a group, but Versatile as well. And Bosco, they both need to be appreciated for what they've done. Just huge impacts. Like, you know, I think Bosco fueled a lot of stuff in terms of production. Like some of those E40 albums that he was on where he had 5-6 songs on there where people were like, oh, that's Bosco from Portland. We don't mess with Costco, we mess with Bosco, you know, stuff like that. Just like legendary stuff that 40, to this day, if 40 says that at a show, people know what he's saying.
Right. So just, we got a couple more questions, but before, just want to remind people that we are going to be doing an audience questions portion. So, you know, get those prepared. And yeah, Don, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah. On a sadder end a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, because you were saying like the scene was able to produce shows that had 1,000 and 2,000 people coming out. Do you feel like gentrification has affected like the turnout for local shows, hip hop wise?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because a lot of the growth of the scene was fueled by word of mouth and grassroots. For instance, like at that point within Northeast Portland, you had multiple record stores. You had House of Sounds, One Stop, Music Galore, even Music Millennium, Everyday Records. You had all of these record stores all at one time. So with all of those record stores, they served as hubs for music. So like everybody was going to those record, like if you lived in Northeast, you had to go to One Stop Records on 16th and Killingsworth to get your music. You know, you had to go to Music Galore and get your pager and then pick up the newest Messy Marv or E40 or whatever. You know, even Second Avenue Records downtown. These served as hubs where people could go see go experience the culture, and not also Sam Goody in the mall, like in Lloyd Center. All of these record stores served as places where if you were into hip hop, you went to those places to like, they were like the hangout spots. You know what I mean? It's like, I gotta go to One Stop. I gotta go to Music Galore and go get this record. But then when you went in there, you not only got the records, you saw the show posters, the flyers, the artists would be in there. You know, it's many times like I'd be in a record store dropping off CDs and people will come in and be like, oh man, Cool Nutz. You know, I didn't know that you were going to be in here. And they, you know, buy a record and sign it. And that encouraged people to go to, to come to the shows, to buy more music, because you knew that you could go to these places and you could experience, the culture. But now you don't have any of that. Like, you don't have One Stop Records. You don't have House of Sound. You don't have Music Galore. You don't have any of these places anymore, So it just affects the culture. It affects us having these hubs where people could go find the things that you couldn't find. Like, you could find artists from the city that you couldn't find anywhere else. So then it becomes like, when you lose one record store, okay, you lost that record store, boom, that one's gone. Then you lose Music Galore, boom, that one's gone. Then you lose House of Sounds, boom, that one's gone. But I don't think it's not just gentrification, it's also the changing of the economy, the changing of real estate, all of these things have an impact. So it all comes together to create something that affects the organic aspects of our local scene, of course. Then you lose clubs, like you lose a lot of clubs. There's no Burbati's, there's no Satyricon. Even right now, the Ash Street is gone, So all of these venues that supported local music and helped the culture thrive, they're gone now. So it has a definite impact, on just overall the commerce and the business of music in the city.
You're one of the few that's been able to take it, like really outside of the city, though. So how much do you lean into that in the face of like clubs, locally being shut down, having a little bit more reach outside of Portland and Oregon and even Washington?
I mean, for me, that was one of the things that helped, that helped put us in position was getting out the city. Like, I feel like for you to be taken as a serious artist and for people to really appreciate what you do on a bigger scale, because you can be here doing music and people are going to be like, oh, I love that guy. He's dope and it's cool and he represents the town. But that only has a certain reach, Then once they see, oh, man, I saw Cool Nutz in The Source. I saw Cool Nutz in Double XL. I saw Cool Nutz in Murder Dog magazine, rap pages. Now you have that validation of saying you went beyond that local artist. You went beyond, oh, that's just a dude I used to see, putting up posters on 15th and Alberta or 15th and Killingsworth or, at the show at Barbadi's. No, I saw him at the Showbox in Seattle in front of, 1,200 people, or, being in Denver and you have people from Portland that happen to be in Denver while we out there on tour, or in Atlanta. That's what's helped validate us, even to where, I'm still here doing it now because it's been so much put into it, so much invested into it, so much reach, and so many, like, people don't understand, man, driving from Wyoming to Portland after a show, or, doing shows in the middle of nowhere in Washington and Sunnyvale or Sunnyside, Washington, or Walla Walla, or, Yakima, or Big Sky, Montana, or, being at ski resort shows in Colorado. That's what's validated us. Being able to put that on social media, being able to show people like, nah, we're not just selling records here in Portland. We're not just doing shows in Portland. We're going beyond that. Being in Amsterdam with 40 or London with Ilmac, all of that. It's like, this ain't no local circus, man. This is this is Barnum and Bailey. We're gonna pack up the tent and take it everywhere.
One thing, I don't know if we've gotten some questions coming in, but one thing I didn't want to miss asking you, you're talking about the physical spaces that have been lost. But, we dedicated our 106 in Quarantine radio show on the numbers to 95.5 tonight, just in honor of, this being the throwback edition. So can you talk about like 95.5's role in the local scene and what it meant for it to leave, and now what it means as 107.5, because I know you do work with jamming 107.5 as it is.
Yeah. But the thing is, even with 95.5, like, I wasn't basically like station staff at 95.5, but I did so much with them that I was like family. I could walk in the building and come sit down at a desk and everybody showed me love because I help promote shows or help bring in advertising or did partnerships with them in different things or community things. 95.5 was instrumental in creating a culture. Like, it was like the first mainstream radio station that embraced hip hop, that, gave us an outlet, even, having Star Child on the radio, being able to go in there, like, I've had probably 2 or 3 records on the air on 95.5 in full rotation. You know what I mean? Like the big artists. So having a station and having the staff there that understood, like, we got to do this for the local artists. Because that's why you see so many people in LA and Houston and other markets, New York, they get on because the powers that be embrace the local scene. That's why you always saw so many artists from Houston come out, because in the South and Atlanta and places like that, they embrace their local artists and they would treat them like major artists. Like, you go to the South, Slim Thug and them and Paul Wall, they're like royalty out there even before we knew about them, because local radio and clubs and everybody embraced them. And that was the thing with 95.5 is you could walk in there and actually talk to people. Then you had people like Ebro who was, you know, people didn't realize Ebro started here in Portland. You know what I'm saying? Like Ebro came from Sacramento, came here, got on the air. But even with Ebro, when we
I want to add context for people who might not know. Ebro is the host of Hot 97, Ebro in the Morning, and Hot 97 is one of the most pivotal radio brands in hip hop today. So that's who he's referring to right now.
And he's one of the top guys at Apple Music, you know, in hip hop right now. So between Hot 97 and Apple Music, Ebro is probably in hip hop. He's a power 10, you know, one of the 10 influential guys in hip hop on a national scale. So, you know, he started here but there are times when like we had a record deal and with Universal and we had our own rap van. We were pushing, we had our singles and everything. And the label wasn't doing all the way what they should. But Ebro, just even being here, called up to the label and said, look, these are my guys. They're doing their thing. They work hard. They went out and got their own rap van. They really pushing their movement. Y'all need to do something. And a lot of people won't do that. But that came from our relationship with him at 95.5, of him knowing these are dudes that are factors in Portland that are doing their thing. People know them. People know what they're doing, and they worked hard to get this record deal, and you guys need to support them. So for me, 95.5 was a lot deeper. Like even the PD, Mark Adams, when I took my song, She's Mine in there, me, Bosco, and E40, I walked in there, I played him the song, probably 30 seconds of it. He said, this is a hit. It's going in full rotation. There's not many radio stations that will take a local artist and drop it like that. You know what I mean? Like put the stamp on it and play the record like a major record, which it was a major record, you know, and so 95.5 was synonymous with really, really growing the scene and just they weren't only doing radio, they would actually be out in the streets, you know, like with the parties at the Refectory, at the Greek, you know, the Greek cuisine, the Red Sea, Love Jones at the Ohm. Like you have multiple personalities from the station that were in the scene, that were interacting with the people, that were like always out and about. You could actually touch and see them. So it did great things for the city because it wasn't just people that you heard on the radio. It was people that you got to interact with at the club nights, at the shows. You know, they helped really, really bring a culture that, you know, that was loud, it was heard in the city. So 95.5 was huge in that aspect. And, you know, moving forward now to 107.5, we took a lot of that same energy and tried to use that same energy of being really, really involved in the local hip hop scene, from the penthouse parties to Boo Bomb, like doing giving a local artist the opportunity to open for Boo Bomb in front of 9,000 people. You know, the breakout show and different stuff like that continues in the trend of keeping that hand out there in the community, giving artists a platform where they can be heard, putting artists on stage and opening doors in that way, because those are the things that really make the difference. Not just having a radio station, but having a radio station that has love and respect for the scene. And that's what we've been trying to be about. But that was built off of 95.5, which Mark Adams, who's, you know, he's a heavyweight in radio. He runs iHeartRadio in the Bay, the whole cluster. So having people like that can teach you and instill those things and show you that everybody in radio is not just trying to get a dollar, but they're actually concerned about the culture and concerned about pushing it, you know, and just expanding it and showing love and being inclusive of people, especially local artists, man, because I feel like a lot of the times it's a lot of talent out there that doesn't get heard, that doesn't get a chance to be heard on a major scale, that deserves to be heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, we want to, open it up to audience questions. Basically, Yeah, just unmute yourself and fire away.
Everybody wants to act scary today. It's okay. You can say words.
I'll say something. Hello.
What's going on?
Not much. My name is Akuna. I am a Seattle-based writer, and I recently started writing for We Out Here magazine in Portland, and kind of helped resurface that, which I thought was very important. It's kind of very relevant to what we're talking about right now. And I just kind of wanted to address one of the questions that you initially asked when you were talking about landmarks and stuff. I'm not very familiar with Portland so far. I recently started going out there at the beginning of the year, and then my second trip out there for the year got canceled for reasons that I'm sure we all know of. But while I was out there, it was just wonderful to go around and see different places that I may have seen in different music videos. I'm a fan of Mike Tapes, and I met him for the first time while I was out there. So just kind of like what Cool Nutz was saying about like the history of music and stuff, I missed a lot when I was kind of like in my teenage years. I wasn't tapped into the music scene, and I didn't really think that knowing who was pioneering the Seattle music scene was important to me at the time, because I was just a kid. And then in my college years, I actually went out of state, and I went to Grambling State University, which I thought was pivotal to the person who I am today. But I also missed out on a big chunk of Pacific Northwest music history as well. But it's just great to make that connection. It's almost like when you listen to old music and you start realizing where all the samples are coming from. You're like, oh, I thought this was an original idea. No. So I think it's very important for people, especially people that call themselves music lovers today, to kind of like embrace the history of music and where it came from, because it's looking like this generation, I kind of say this about my family as well, like I'm afraid that this chunk of history is going to be lost kind of in the wash of everything, because there's so much going on and everybody's moving so fast that I feel like nobody's really like focusing in and embracing and taking everything in. So I kind of hope to do that. Being a writer, I like to write about a lot of independent artists and a lot of Black artists, and just kind of write down that history and kind of make my stamp in time in that way. So that was less of a question and more of a ramble, but thank you. This was wonderful to listen to. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And shout out to your shirt you're talking about.
Yes.
Produce.
We already got the grains a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So Produce Portland, check them out downtown Portland, and check out all the guys that are a part of that collective. Also want to give a shout out to everybody that's watching on the live stream as well, on the Facebook live stream. We got some people here in the Zoom chat with us and some people hanging out on Facebook as well. So if y'all have questions, be sure to drop them in the chat there, and we'll pass on the message. Any other questions from folks in the immediate?
Hi, I'm Thea. I grew up in Portland. Actually, I'm 14th and favorite. And kind of protected by my mom. I didn't really get to interact with a lot of the culture that was going on then, but I did end up having a love of hip hop based on hearing it on the school bus on the way to school. The kids from the neighborhood would bring their boom boxes on the bus. And so 7th grade, I was, listening to Grandmaster Flash and, Fabulous Five and lots of other people on the bus on my way to school. And I came into the presentation late, having to work late, and I feel like I missed a lot of really interesting discussion. I apologize, but what I was kind of wondering is how do I get out and experience hip hop locally now? Like everything's closed, and I don't know. I feel like everything I'm getting is coming through Facebook, and that's It seems like kind of a problematical source.
I think that's where she said the thing about we out here. You got to go to outlets like We Out Here and take in, because those are platforms where you get not only what's the mainstream stuff, you get the stuff that's carving its way, that's actually creating a culture in Portland. Like she said, like the Mike Capes, the Rashid Jamals, Kayla J's, and people like that are actually out here working and dope talent. Because I think that's the problem now is we get hit with so much music, and if you're not like, you know, popping or you know, from a mainstream perspective at a certain level, you can just get overlooked. And I think a lot of stuff in Portland can at times get overlooked because you have artists touring through the city that are, you know, playing at the Roseland or playing wherever. And that sometimes overshadows some of the, you know, authentic stuff from the city that deserves a chance to be heard. But I would say outlets like We Out Here, The Numbers, K-Boo, of course, The Breakout Show, and just tapping in with people that that are familiar, like you know, people like Donovan and Bruce. They know what's popping. Like tapping in with people like that and asking them, like, hey, what's dope from the city? What should I be listening to, or who's somebody that I should be trying to check out?
Yeah, but in the most immediate, I think, you know, artists are, you know, out here performing still. They're just doing it through the Facebook and the Instagrams. I know Cool Nutz just did something in partnership with the Roseland. I don't know if that's an ongoing thing that they're going to be doing, but I think that's going to be kind of the wave in the most immediate to get a actual experience of the artists in the moment.
No, but yeah, the Roseland thing, they're going to be doing that, I think, every Friday or Saturday. They have an artist that they showcase with a live performance from their living room or wherever they want to do it at. So, you know, that's also dope, and that was a great outlet for me because, you know, we haven't been able to play out. So it was dope to be able to do that. That was refreshing.
Yeah, hopefully we can get out to some concerts soon, though, you know, in due time in a safe way.
Yeah, and to that end, you've also got, you know, a number of like platforms in terms of just like putting, you know, local artists' songs out there. I just wanted to ask you about some of like kind of newer ones, like specifically Get Out the Trash Wednesdays. Can you talk with the crowd about that?
Yeah, I just wanted to put a new twist on, like, because everybody just does the same thing. Like, you know, check out my song, check out this, check out that. So I wanted to do something that would, one, spark some interest by the provocative nature of the name, which is Get Out the Trash Wednesdays. And it means basically send us a song and we let the listeners decide if your music is going to get pulled out the trash. And not to say that it's trash when it starts, but like when you get it, it starts here and we got a scale of 1 to 10, or you get the poop emoji or the 100 emoji or the trash can emoji or the fire emoji. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I think sometimes people take stuff so serious that I wanted to make it fun. And it is fun. Like, you know, the weeks that we do it, you see artists tuned in, sending a lot of music. And even it's fun for people to be able to, you know, to say, oh, that's dope, or that's not dope, or put the emojis on there. So it's just another way to keep circulating music. And that one is more so for, especially for artists that might not be getting heard, you know, newer up and coming artists that here, let's play this music for the people and let the people decide, or turning people on to something that they might not be familiar with.
Yeah. And you're doing the breakout show as well. And it's something you've been doing, but can you talk about what that's all about?
Well, right now, because of the coronavirus, we're not doing it because iHeart as a company wants to keep the, problem with radio, and I'm sure you guys know this, is you have many people coming in and out of a studio. So once everything started, it was cool because they could manage it, but then first it started with they had to take all the staff out the offices. Then they were like, okay, only one person can be in the studio. But then when one person's in the studio, that person is still on the microphone, spitting, touching everything. So they can't control the spread, even if we clean it. Like, there's so many crevices in the mixing board and buttons you push in and USBs being plugged in and, people coming in with their laptops. So then as a company, they decided that we all basically should take a break from having that high amount of traffic in and out the studio and everything. So right now we're essentially on furlough until it should actually be coming to a close here like June or early July. But the breakout show itself is we started as the Northwest Breakout Show. Northwest spotlighted Northwest music. The breakout part, we break out records that the station doesn't typically play. So you're gonna hear some Mozzie, Slum Village, Rick Ross, E40, Jay-Z records that you don't hear on the air. So that was the whole point of the breakout show, was to expose people to Northwest music and records that the station wasn't playing. And then from there, we were also able to expand into the penthouse parties, to breakout Tuesdays, to the toy drives. So the breakout show has basically been a valuable tool for us to give back to the community, as well as further the growth of Northwest music and the presence. Every Sunday night, well, not every Sunday night right now, but Sunday nights, 9 p.m. to 11:30.
So I just wanted to open it up again to, if we got any more audience questions. Well, gave it like 2-3 beats there. So, so with that, I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to plug. I know, we talked about just some of the projects tonight, but I don't know if there's anything else you're working on that you'd like people to know about.
Man, just, the new record is out there. Father of Max. Go check it out. And one of the things that I'm very proud of with the music is the progression from, the video, What I'm About. That was the early phases of us starting to now. You hear the progression of we not only just did music, but we grew with the music. So go just check out the catalog, check out the merch. If you see my name on a show, come to a show. Just support us and support Portland hip hop and hip hop in general. And that's really what, we trying to plug is this overall movement. I'm happy to still be here. I'm happy to be doing stuff like this, and appreciate you guys having me, man, because it's a blessing to still have I've been in this a long time, so it's a blessing to still be relevant and have people want to talk about it and talk to you and even just talk about the journey in hip hop. Because when I started doing this, I didn't do it to make no money. I did it because I love the culture, So that's what I'm pushing. I still love it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing history with us. Appreciate it. And thank you for coming on the show. And everybody be sure to follow Cool Nutz as well, at Cool Nutz, Nutz, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to close it out. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. Cool Nutz, thanks again for, taking the time, a lot of time as I look down there, for speaking with us. And again, we're going to be the last edition of 106 in Quarantine as 106 in Quarantine. We're going to be Press Play Northwest going forward. So, if you'd like to get on the mailing list to figure out, find out the latest updates, just drop your email in the chat section. We're gonna have social media pages and all that coming up soon. So yeah, again, thank you all, and enjoy what's left of the sun today.
In the meantime, you can follow us at Gentrification is Weird, Points at Bruce, and at ignorant_DMS to stay tuned. So yeah, stay safe, y'all, and thank you.